Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Wales of Wall Street. Today's video, Verasity, VRA on the exchange. Really interesting one today. Some nice updates from Verasity over the last month or so. We'll cover those in a second. Before we do that, don't forget to check out the other videos on the channel after this one, of course. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. On the journey towards 10,000 subs, so thank you all for the support, and hopefully everyone's learning everything, including myself. Let's go straight into this topic today, guys. So first of all, Verasity has seen a massive jump in token purchasing on the exchanges. We'll go into the charts shortly after these couple of topics we're going to cover for Verasity. But you can see here clearly that one of the most traded tokens, and it's not just these whale stats, there's loads of different ones. Verasity always love to showcase their kind of social media prowess and also the token allocations and token purchases that have occurred over a period of time. I haven't seen these kind of charts for some time, so it's showing you that we've had a really good positive month in the market. Again, we'll talk about that in a bit more detail, but it's good to see that Verasity is one of those top talked tokens and projects out there. So moving on from that, guys, this one's really interesting. So we've got a VRA card. Okay, so a Verasity card, a debit card that people can use in both online and offline, i.e. in stores physically as well, where you can utilize your Verasity tokens. Of course, this is an opportunity as well for the aspect of staking, as an example, which is ongoing. We'll touch that point in a second as well, because that is going on until next year, 2024. So they've released, I think it's about 18% or so. In fact, it says 15% until 2024 here, but I believe there's actually beyond that. But maybe this is going to change to that 15%. But at the moment, it's 18.25. So I think they're indicating at the moment that the staking rewards will be about 15%, which is still very decent if you compare that to various other saving mechanisms in the world. I mean, here in the UK, most banks like 0.5%, which is nonsense, really. So this is very interesting because it gives a bit more of an extra utility as to why you want the Verasity token. However, I don't know, I've got a bit of a balanced thought process around this, because a lot of projects now and a lot of exchanges are bringing out these debit cards. I've had a couple in the past, especially like the crypto one, crypto.com one, and it's great, like, moving forward. And then they cancel the rewards because so many people use them and they couldn't hold the capacity, or they realized that actually maybe some of this isn't towards the financial conducts and the standardizations around there, because I think a lot of people were maybe avoiding tax or just utilizing their crypto in an expenditure way, and not actually how we tax this, how we do it. And I know that's a really boring conversation to talk about, because no one likes talking about tax, but it's still very important, obviously, because you do need to adhere to that, especially whichever country that you're in. But here in the UK, I think they're looking for Q1. We'll go into the roadmap in a second. But yeah, very interesting to at least see this development and see the progress of this, and exactly what they're going to brand and market this as. I know it says here potentially about just basically utilizing the VRA tokens to buy and purchase things, but is there a deeper thought process to this, a long-term vision? I'm very interested to see that, and I don't think there's any other information as to whether this is backed by Visa or MasterCard, or if it's got its own bank situation that's leading this. Very interesting to see those developments as time go by, but interesting update nonetheless. But we'll go into this actually because they've just very recently released the roadmap for 2023. Of course, one of the big standout things is that debit card. So we've got here UK residents Q1. So we're expecting this here in the UK in the next couple of months. Of course, we're already nearly at the end of January, which is crazy how fast the year is already going. But yeah, very interesting. I'll probably try and register if I can get access to that and see what this is about. But my Verasity tokens are still in staking on the VRA wallet, which is this platform here, virawallet.io, and you can simply allocate your tokens to this and basically monitor and manage. It's got 2FA as well for security, and great staking rewards for now. So I'm leaving those in there for the next few years at least. I'm not really selling Verasity, certainly not until we get back to those really high points that we saw previously. Again, we'll go into that in a second, but Veracity's got a big big year ahead, really, in terms of its development, in terms of its movement towards more partners and more integrations as well. I think the partner list is going to be something very important and crucial to really cement Verasity as a serious player in the ad stack environment. And to put that into context, guys, I just brought this up here. So, I mean, there's loads of different statistical websites, but me being in a marketing background, I understand the power and the emphasis of certainly digital marketing. And digital marketing is going to transform, guys, quite a lot. We're not just talking about online now. We're also talking about when we have like retina displays and these goggles that have been coming out over the last X amount of time. We're looking at things like adverts where if you're in a street and say you've seen one in a billboard or just like a stand-up kind of display, digital display that you see with animations or videos, whatever it might be, each person will eventually see a different advert to the other person, and they could be walking past at the same time, but based on the algorithm of your purchasing behaviors and what things you like and don't like, those adverts can be catered towards you. And this is going to be a similar process really as well for online marketing, online digital marketing. So already we see like a lot of online ads, right? Banners, GIFs, whatever. But this is going to transform. And this is why like cookies are important and things like that in terms of that whole concept, is that, 5 of us could be in a row going online with our own browsing history and whatever it might be, and we'll see different adverts. And it's really interesting to see that development over time. But more importantly, this market value here. The global digital advertising market in 2023 is valued at $681 billion. $681 billion. Absolutely mental. And it's now catering for 69% of overall expenditure on media ads, which has come a long way over the last few years for sure. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, even here from the point of 2022, a 13% rise. And if you can imagine this over the next few years, I mean, look at this. Certainly towards 2026 and maybe even beyond, we're looking at some significant numbers here, guys, and maybe arguably edging towards that $1 trillion mark, to be honest, by 2030. 2025 is expected to be a market value of $800 billion. Now we'll reverse that point and suggest that, well, if Verasity is coming in with this very nice ad stack protocol and technology, the ability for people to really verify views of digital advertising to prove that there was definitely this number. This is going to save a lot of companies out there a lot of lost money with fake views, with bot views and all these kind of things. And certainly when you are trying to sell a media pack or a media allocation of marketing solution, you want proof, you want evidence that you definitely get this amount of views. And some of that is very hard to quantify at the moment, especially with like a lot of the platforms out there that do showcase loads of fake views, but then the companies, whether they're using those fake views or it's by accident, are then promoting that to other companies who are spending a load of money based on those numbers when actually they might not factually be true. And that works on the reverse as well for the companies that are selling the solutions, or indeed utilizing their platforms for revenue streams, both for themselves and their users that monetize on those platforms also. So there's a huge market here and a huge adoption ability here. And we know, like in the past, they've been partnering with the likes of Vimeo, the likes of Google, YouTube as well, of course. And these integrations will continue as time goes by. Whether this sort of really miraculously grows this year in 2023 or not is another question, but it's certainly something very exciting and interesting to be looking out for. And it's one of the main reasons why I hold Verasity. I like its esports platforms, as you know. Its VRA wallet on the staking is brilliant, but for me it's about the advertising aspect, utilizing this Bright Cove integration as well. And as I said, my background in marketing and advertising, I know the power and the opportunity here for that. So it's really, really interesting for sure to see the development of Verasity over the last couple of years since it's been holding it. But what's to come? I think it's absolutely brilliant. So let's keep an eye on this, because I think there's going to be some great developments and it's an exciting project. It's obviously had a great moves in the market, which we'll literally jump into right now, actually, as we phase into that particular topic. Get rid of these silly adverts, honestly. Right. In the last month, guys, for the last 22 days, we've seen a 263% gain from Verasity at these low points that we saw back here at the beginning of January at 0.002, flying up all the way up here to 0.0077, nearly to the 8 mark, which is crazy. So that's the big move that we've seen. You can see this huge waved pattern. We're getting that J movement. I don't really like to call them those kind of patterns, but this is kind of what you'll start to see. You'll probably see some sideways action. This is going to be really imperative to see if we can maintain these current support levels around this 0.007 mark. So at the moment it's fluctuating up and down beyond that point, and under it. So we'll have to see. But we're matching up with two very interesting points. One that we drew back a long time ago as a momentous area to look out for, but also this area here. Now this is important for two reasons. I'm just going to mark it here so you know what I'm talking about. It's this area here. So this is a defining point on the way up that we'll probably see some resistance, and that's exactly what we saw over the last 2, arguably 3 days. It also matches up with this slightly longer term fib retracement level, literally bang on. It's absolutely amazing to see that. And what we're seeing now is the dip down to one of the macro ones that I've drawn in. I've actually in the last video, you can check it if you want, it's definitely true, I've moved it across. So basically I haven't moved it up or down or anything like that. I've just moved it across so it's more in line with the most recent market activity. And you can see here that we're now playing around with this current area as a resistance, but also potentially this really macro level, one of the newest ones that I've drawn in, from this low point to this most recent high point, that we're now going to start messing about with this area between 0.0072 and 0.0065. So this is the area that we're going to start having probably a dominance. Where I talk about that J movement, it's probably going to see some sideways action in this particular area. Now we'll go on to some buy options in a second, but going back to this point about this here, it's showing you that we had the big drop down. So this was August 22, taking us all the way down here. This move, in my opinion, guys, is way too steep, too quick, honestly. So I'm anticipating some really interesting buy opportunities on the way back down. And people are saying, no, we're in a bull market now. We're going to see some upward trends and everything like that. And for sure, we could see still a bit more movement. Go on to that point more so in a second. But what's interesting here is this big gap between this point and this point. We've seen the downward trend. We haven't really identified some proper support areas along the way back up. It's literally just shot through momentum of the market, the FOMO activity. People are still buying in the last couple of days because they've seen this activity. They've gone, oh my god, it's going back up again. And I'm going into in a second why I'm not buying at these stages, because we're at these high ends, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, these are my buy areas, what I've got right now, based on historic data of Verasity. And again, if we look back here, this is crazy as well to look at this. Look, so we've got that marker we just drew in here, but if we point back to here, wow, this was a resistance point, 18th of July 2021 on the way back down, and we shot up with Verasity. So that's why I'm saying it could potentially go up crazy, but I'm in anticipation that because we're in a sort of bear market cycle right now, irrespective of the great move that we've had this month, we've got to identify that this is a huge gap here between this August 2021 marker and what we saw here in the 12th of May 2022 last year. So there's this area to think about that we're hitting this point, which we pushed through. We managed to push through that support and resistance area back here in March 2021, dropped it back down July, and now we're playing around with this area here. Okay, so it's going to be a very difficult task at this moment in time, in my opinion, for us to really break through and hit these next levels where I'm talking about urging towards the 1 cent mark, guys, which we haven't seen for a long time actually. And arguably the last time we saw that was in May last year. So it's certainly a target, and certainly something I do think we'll definitely get back to at some point. Whether that's in this very short-term period is another question, because that's a humongous drop and uptake in such a short space of time. So I'm a bit, not necessarily concerned, I think that's a strong word, but I'm cautious that this area here, and this indicates with the rectangle drawn in here, and actually to be fair matches up quite significantly with this area back here in February 2021 and these drop points here in July and what we've been talking about just now. So these are my areas of purchasing opportunities. The low region of 0.006, the 0.005 mark, and also one here at 0.003. It's kind of 0.004 actually, but it's in between the 3.5 and the 4 mark of that. That's not to say this is definitely coming down to these areas, but it's certainly an interesting point to make that this is a huge gap, and there's no support verifications here. So that's why I've identified those particular areas as buy opportunities. And that's kind of confirmed with various different fib level retracement lines on macro and long-term visions as well. The reason I'm not buying right now is you see the RSIs on the bottom here, 95 on the 14-day, which is so high. This means that there's a very small chance that we're going up even higher. Okay, my opinion, again, it's not financial advice. My opinion and what I'm doing is, but basically not doing actually, is buying at these regions. Even on that 28 days, so high. Now on a 3-month scale, it is showing 54, which is arguably a middle point, a limbo middle point. But in that grand scale of the month movement that we've had and the 14-day movements that we've had, it's too high for me to put any money in here as a risk, because the reward is possibly a lot lower. So I'm going to be a bit patient on this one. It's difficult, I know, sometimes in these FOMO areas and where you've seen such a big trajectory upwards, to make these moves. Now, if I was, and to be fair, I did buy some Verasity along this way because I did see a bit of an upward trend. When you're looking at these lower regions, it's more understandable because you know the trigger points on the upward trend. And I actually thought we were going to top out at this area, 0.0046, and I was wrong. It literally shot through that. So I did have some buy orders here, and arguably if I was trading, I would have taken some nice profits. But I did think, if we're going on a big massive hoo-ha here, and we do push to that 1 cent, well, that's going to be some nice profits up there. So nothing's happened me personally in my trading aspect, but it was certainly interesting to see us break those levels and showed you the massive momentum and excitement that people have with Verasity. So that's great down to their marketing as well, because people do get excited about the social media activity, the stats that they put out there, and all the things that have been going on this week, especially the Davos aspect as well, blockchain conversations, Web3, etc. Very interesting indeed. So I'm going to be waiting really for this to come back down to certainly this area before I start doing a DCA, but I'm only going to put a small pocket of capital into here, and then my more bigger pockets of capital intake will be at these lower regions. So we'll have to see if this bounces around, and again, I'm very interested to see if we see this as a support level or not. But yeah, I do think we'll be definitely testing this kind of area back around here at 0.0045 at some point. Let us know what you think in the comments below. The performance on the right hand side here is phenomenal for Verasity. 131% on the week, 179% on the month. Year to date, 212%. Absolutely brilliant to see this movement of Verasity. Hopefully you're enjoying it, taking advantage, or indeed trying to wait for allocation opportunities like I am. Let us know in the comments below what you're doing for Verasity, but I think this is a top project. It's got a long-term aspiration for me. I'm not looking at short-term gains or trading right now, because if you actually look back, these are the bigger targets I'm looking for, again, hopefully in the near future, towards that 10 cent mark. I do think we'll smash that in the big full bull cycle, but once you pull this out, guys, look how far off we are still with that. It's very exciting to see the movement in the last month, but we are so far away from where we were before. So some great opportunity to accumulate at these lower regions, as and when they come about, for those big uptake areas in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and wrap that up there. We'll see you in the next Verasity video. Bye bye.